The next session is case presentations, which is why we're holding back Mr. Rakesh Sinha because he's going to be moderating the next session, ladies and gentlemen. Building sustainable differentiators, how global organizations are rewiring their services, solutions, and digital strategy. And may I invite our speakers, may I request Mr. Amit Dhingra, Vice President, Global Service Delivery, Nokia Solutions and Networks to kindly join us on stage. Please welcome him with a big hand, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Amit Dhingra.
Delegate back.
Mr. Dhingra has more than 20 years of global experience in telecommunications and service delivery and has a proven leadership track record of turning around business to profitability, creating and implementing strategy as well as business development. He joined Nokia in 2006 and over the years he's been instrumental in contributing to the organization's growth. A very warm welcome to you, sir. May I request you to kindly join us on the dais. May I now invite on stage Dr. Sukanya Mishra, SVP, MasterCard Advisors, COE, so Senior Vice President for MasterCard Advisors, Center of Excellence, Director, MasterCard India Services Private Limited. There she is. Let's welcome the lady with a big hand, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Mishra has over 20 years of global and domestic market experience in consulting, risk management, and analytics in financial services, business development, and academics. She's established also the MasterCard Advisor Center of Excellence, building consulting and analytics capability for advisors' global clients as a key differentiator for MasterCard services. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our esteemed panel, and with that, I will now request Mr. Sinha to kindly take over the proceedings for the session. Sir, please.
Thanks, Ashura. I think it's a pleasure to have two of the GIC leaders here. One is Nokia in terms of the way they have transformed the processes, and I was just having a quick chat with Amit, and I have even heard his perspectives. He has been one of the guys who gave his perspectives on the publication as well. So from the perspective of how he looks at even the transformation and disruption differently in terms of the progression was a very interesting conversation which we had, and I have Dr. Mishra here. I think I'm meeting her the first time. I've heard of her a lot in terms of her statistical ability. I think Ravi keeps talking about her in terms of her statistical ability. So I think we have two great leaders here, and I'll not waste much time talking. I know you have heard me. So I'll get Amit straight to the podium and share his perspectives, and then we'll move with the next. Amit, thank you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to everyone. It's my pleasure to walk you through some of the thinking. Though before I start, let me quickly, if you can please project the slides, let me quickly highlight one thing. As Nokia, I don't think we fall very clearly either within the GIC bucket or the shared services bucket. But let me first explain what Nokia Global Services Delivery is about. I think that would be a good starting point, and then I will explain how we are building the differentiator, and of course how India comes into play for us as well. So first of all, Nokia Global Services Delivery is not new to India or new to Global Services Forum itself. We have actually been doing our Global Services Delivery for 10 years. Incidentally, it's the 10th year. We started in October 2006 in Chennai with 60 people, and today in India we have grown from 60 people all the way to 6,000 people. What do we do is we actually provide our services to our customers. Now, when I say we provide services to our customers, it's actually a very interesting paradigm here because we are a B2B company. We provide to, of course, our customer base is 180 to 200 customers globally, which are the big opcos, Vodafones of the world, Airtels of the world. And we provide every service which does not need to be delivered on site. We do it remotely. And today, we deliver 47% of our overall services portfolio completely remotely. And that's actually a very, very key part. And I was talking to a few people. It's a very different understanding when you look at the process view. We actually look at it from a very different angle. Yes, processes are important, and the maturity model is very well because whatever you deliver, it has to follow. You have to industrialize. Otherwise, you can never achieve those scale benefits. But one of the important things for us is about also the whole gambit, the whole portfolio depth which we have. Because we talk about a very simple operations of an alarm management from network operation services when we do managed services for any of our customers, and all the way up to the software bug fixing. All of this skill base is within Global Services Delivery in Nokia. So it's a very wide gambit which we have and a very, very deep from a software and technology expertise as well. We have roughly 9,000 people around the world. India is not the only center, but it's by far the largest center, as I said, with 6,000 people. We have got presence in India, in Noida and Chennai. These are two of our key centers. And additionally, we have got a center in Europe, which is split between Portugal and Romania for us. I'll not talk about those centers today. We'll focus more a little bit about the differentiators and the strategy. So actually, this slide pretty much describes our view of the world as we go along. Now, we also heard a lot of transformations, industrial revolution, and even many people talked about things which were even before my time, and I completely agree, even before I wasn't even born when we were talking about some of those topics. But I believe the pace has changed. Honestly, in the next 3 years, we will see a lot more happening than what we have seen in the last 10 years. I think we are going to break the Moore's law from 2 years to 1.5 years to even actually probably less than a year. What we see, and that's Nokia's philosophy, is it's about really focusing on workforce of the future, and workforce of the future will be different. One, for various reasons, is no longer going to be 50 years old, 40 years old. We keep on talking about Generation X, baby boomers. Actually, we are already in Generation Y. In global services delivery in Nokia, we have our population average age of less than 28 years, average age. Now, those are very different way to engage with them. You cannot lead those teams the way we are used to. We need to start adapting. We are also going to change, of course, the way we are using the people and the resources. And when I say resources, actually I'm going to link it to the extreme automation very quickly. For me, resources also is about the people, but also about the virtual stroke automated assets. Automated assets means robots, RPA. We talked a little bit, and I'll come to that as well, because they have to work in tandem. And at the same time, we have to talk about also the crowdsourcing. Uber disrupted the whole thing. All it did is it actually made unmet demand met with a very simple platform, which is sort of I would call it crowdsourcing, where you had a crowd of drivers, you had a crowd of consumers which needed to be met, and it just met the demand. And that's where we believe we have to go. Though, of course, it's very easy to say, we have a long way to go on this one. Let me quickly talk more about automation. And our view of the world is it's actually not automation, it's extreme automation. Maybe it's also coming from our industry, which is very cutthroat competition. We need to continue to drive our costs down, but at the same time, the quality cannot be undermined. It was a very interesting discussion in the morning around this topic, because when we talk about telecom, it's real time. It's one, real time. Second, anything we do has an impact on millions of subscribers. So of course, the quality impact is much huge when we look at these topics. So when we look at that, of course, RPA, one, maybe we are talking now in telecom industry for the last 1 year, but RPA has been actually existing already in the IT industry for 2-3 years. So it's not new for the industry at large. We need to also be able to learn from our adjacent industries and how do we leverage on that one. According to me, if you really believe in what Nokia philosophy is and what I believe in, RPA is just the first step. Together with RPA, we need to actually go then towards cognitive learning, because we need to be able to have the machine learning and mix the machine learning with the robots. RPA as it stands, it's a very simple, it's manual, anything which can be done repetitive, which is manual, you just automate that. It doesn't have a brain of its own, it cannot think of its own. We need to link these to the cognitive thinking, and that's where I believe it's going to be the word until 2020, though I must say AI would be something, time will tell, but that's the direction it will go towards. As Nokia, our view is actually we are going to have roughly 1,000 robots working. We already have roughly 50 robots working in our global delivery, which will be actually making us 5 times faster. I also firmly believe, actually linking the two of the workforce of the future and extreme automation, that every job we know now, by 2020, it will evolve with automation, with robotics, what we are seeing. Even ours as a leader, even ours standing here will evolve, because we'll have to also see how do we manage and merge the two together. So if we believe we are going to be stable and we can use exactly what we have been doing, I think we need to really adapt and very quickly start to change. Let me talk more about analytics as well. There was a very interesting discussion in the morning again in the speech about predictive. That's actually a very interesting gambit. Currently, we have not been able to see that we can actually adapt and change that quickly to the changes, especially when you look at the analytics part. Any telecom network which you manage, like Stock India, we are here, you look at Airtel, you look at Vodafone, on a monthly basis, it actually generates roughly around 10 terabytes of data. No amount of human capacity or brain can process that. No amount. We can put thousands and thousands, it will still not be able to process in the time, in the speed, and the quality which we need. So analytics is something which has been already a need. It's not something it's now, people are talking, it's the buzzword about the big data. This is actually what's happening. We need that because of few reasons. When a network performance is not good, you need to be able to understand and analyze what is the fundamental root cause and correct and change that. And when we look at that, that's the first step of analytics, which is going to help us also towards going predictive. Because if we are able to analyze and understand the patterns in the trend, it will give us, are there some triggers which actually allow us to have some leading indicator rather than a lagging indicator. And of course, end of the day, it's all about customer experience. I think we have seen in India, the call drops are so pathetic. Sorry, actually I can say this openly even when Abhay was there as the CTO sitting here, because I actually dread to take a call on the roads in Delhi because I don't know when the call will drop. So we need to be able to actually provide a user experience that I don't need to think about that. I should be able to do, the communication is the basic need, and I should be able to do that at any time, at any given point, in any way. And that's something which we need to go towards in improving our customer experience. And I'm actually going to put one more topic, which is actually was discussed by Rakesh, which is about the performance and the KPIs. As part of the global delivery, one of the things which I realized, and in the GICs it's the same, I call it a watermelon effect. The watermelon effect is, you look at the KPIs, they're all green. You cut the KPIs, and they're all red. For me, it's the watermelon effect. Until the time we have a watermelon effect, our end customers or internal customers are never happy because they always have that issue and the perception. And the only way to cut that down is to actually bring the watermelon size smaller and smaller. That means you go down in granularity of what we are measuring. And that again will only be possible with the analytics. Because again, the way we set the KPIs, the way we drive it, it's all a lot of manual effort. We need to be able to put a lot of analytics and again predictive on that as well. So that's where we see the future going. And in interest of time, I'm going to actually talk very literally the last topic about digital. Actually, we are in India and we talked a lot about the speed with which we work, but honestly, we have not been able to embrace the digital transformation very quickly. GICs, or even for GDC, for Nokia Global Delivery, it's actually a very important topic, which is delanguaging. Currently, one of our biggest constraints is the language. If I need to speak to someone, if a customer is actually raising a software issue in Chinese language, they need to be able to someone who can actually speak in that language. And Japanese, Spanish, just name all the languages around the world. And I love the movie Matrix, by the way, for obvious reasons, as you would see now what I'm going to say, which is, it would be great to have a chip, a slot, where you put a chip, and you are able to actually learn any language, any damn skill which you want. It's not that easy. And we are actually experimenting with a lot of companies to come up with a translator where we can actually do all of these online translations, where we can actually completely delanguage the requirement which we have very, currently completely not able to make us going completely digital in our transformation. Delanguaging is of course going to take time, but that's something which we are working on, where we can go from text to text, from voice to voice, speech to speech, irrespective, we would be able to go there. It's something, my vision, by 2020, I hope to achieve that. So with that, I'm going to thank all of you and look forward to discussions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think out of many key points, I think I was very intrigued with two things. 350 robots, are they walking? So that was very interesting. To see 350 robots, it's interesting. And I think the watermelon effect, absolutely. I mean, that is very critical to go into the detail to look at the two sides. I've seen multiple times. You talk about the KPIs. I've seen even with the project sometimes. You'll find the project manager saying everything is green, while the client says everything is red. So absolutely critical to look at from the two aspects to it, in terms of the going to the granularity, as well as also looking from both the dimensions. And I think I'm sure in the evening session we are specifically talking about on the customer experience and looking from the customer's perspective. This will be very powerful to have a dialogue in the evening on that as well. I will move on and request Sukanya, please, if you can share your thoughts as well.
Sure. Thank you very much. I really feel privileged and honored to be here in front of a very prestigious group of achievers, industry practitioners. Thank you, Ravi, for giving me this opportunity. Taking the cue from Amit's presentation where he touched upon analytics, I would say that is my world. I would say analytics-driven decisioning is the world that I belong to. as part of MasterCard Advisors, which is the consulting arm of MasterCard, we harness data and we enable our entire ecosystem of stakeholders, which is the consumers, the bankers, the merchants, governments, media houses, take intelligent decisions and help them grow their businesses and profitability further. I would like to start with a few trends. We all know about this mobile device, which we can't live without. We can't even think, of our lives without the mobile device. The kind of data that is getting generated, there are a few emerging trends that I want to share with all of you. Mobile, who would have thought, is not just a communication device anymore. We take our photographs, we share our photographs, a lot of personal information using this device. This has also become our bank. We are doing a lot of payments. So there's a lot of information that is getting transmitted through this one device. The data that is generated at a rudimentary level is location, where people are roaming around, where they are spending a lot of time, and what kind of application they are using. And from there, we are able to derive a lot of their lifestyle, their demographics. The largest country today is not India and China in terms of population. It is actually Facebook. It transcends all geographic barriers. It has 1.79 billion active users today. It's really mind-boggling. And we all use Facebook very happily, sharing a lot of our personal things. We use it for marketing our, lot of small businesses, large businesses. They are using Facebook as their marketing channel. There is a lot of opinions that are being shared. So how do we use so much of data? It is really important that we harness all this data in a manner that is actionable and usable for driving the business growth and profits. Internet of Things, again, a buzzword, but it is actually not. By 2020, we expect there to be about 28 billion IoT devices installed in the world. Now, let us take an example of the municipality of San Francisco. So they use this huge truck to clean the roads, and they also have a device which is identifying potholes around the roads and sending real-time data back to the municipality, and their repair department is picking it up and repairing the data, which is that fast. All our health devices, the bands that people have started wearing, which is monitoring the heartbeats and your pulse rates and a lot of other health data, which is getting again transmitted to your doctor or the hospital that you've registered to, and it can save your life if the data is again harnessed and used in the proper way. Finally, all of this is actually coming into big data. The velocity, the speed at which the data is getting generated, the variety of data from all these different kinds of sources, and the volume, it is mind-boggling. How do we use so much of information? Amit did speak about the robots and using all kinds of artificial intelligence, machine learning, but we need an infrastructure to harness and sift through all this unstructured data and make it really meaningful, and that requires a skill. The cloud has enabled us to actually transfer a lot of these huge data warehouse costs and help us harness the data at fraction of a cost. And how are we using it? At MasterCard or any such banks or large retails, the telecom providers, everybody is using it for various things like consumer, improving consumer experience, building operational efficiencies, improving your margins, and then there are new business models. The Ubers of the world have come up, because of all the infrastructure that are now available to us. We talked about the banks. You know, connecting all of this data is very, very important so that we can create, we can understand our consumers better. We can understand the small businesses better. We can understand the market that we want to enter better. You know, we want to figure out which location I want to open my next shop, which location I want to actually build my office. Where will I find the right kind of employee or the talent? All of this information is able to help us drive the right decisioning. An example of, you know, segmentation, what we use at a nutshell is using consumers' transaction behavior, what kind of money they are spending and where and how frequently, how often they are spending in different countries, traveling cross-border and returning back, is able to help us segment the consumers and create a differentiated offers for them. So instead of, you know, the marketing being mass, it has come to, you know, one-to-one, but one-to-one is actually not possible, you know, even with robotics. So we have to come down to certain look-alike segments. You know, these are groups are, you know, music lovers. These groups are pet lovers. These group actually prefer going to groceries only on Saturday mornings. So these are the times I need to actually send the offer so that it is right on time. So these kind of consumer understanding is helping us not only make the right offer of your products, but also come up with new product innovation. The framework, which is very important for us to be prepared for, you know, the next leap, the next technology revolution, is not only to bring the data in, but also make it the right data which is meaningful for your business, for which you require that skill or expertise of not only analytics, you know, people who are statisticians, mathematicians, engineers, but the world is moving. We are talking about robotics. We also need to learn artificial intelligence and understand what it can do or what it cannot do. The world is moving towards huge amount of data, and that is, you know, being used, but we have to also bring the timestamp in mind. How can we make it real time? Because it is really, really a very fast, dynamic world that we are living in. Different businesses and different sources coming up every other day. Using that, harnessing it is also the technology. We were, you know, focused on data warehouse. There was a huge amount of investments that the companies made, but now with cloud computing and the cloud, you know, sourcing of data, the big data platforms like Hadoop and artificial intelligence are enabling us to address a lot of questions real time. It is also helping us democratize the usage of data. Once we are able to make the data aggregated in a certain form, the users are able to, with very little training or understanding, with a great user interface, the users are able to use that data to draw their day-to-day decisions or even run their you know, company strategy, business of the future. But it is very also important that we are careful about the privacy laws and be governed by the compliance and data usage laws of the country, and you know, there are global you know, data usage compliances also, because it can be misused as well. You know, there was a case for Paytm recently. You know, in India, the millennials, they have jumped from being, I guess, a PC user to actually mobile. And as a result, the Paytm businesses, or the Paytms of the world, are really flourishing. But then one little hacking on the system, one fraud, can tarnish the company's reputation and set you back a few years. It is irreparable. And as a result, it's very important that we invest a lot, again, not only in the systems and procedures and policies, but also the right talent, the legal talent, who can guide us. how we are using this data in our day-to-day. Just a few, a case example could be for the bank, when we understand the mobile users, for example, the millennials are very different from the generation X's, and what kind of product needs to be offered, what is the right time for them, how their lifestyle is changing as we are able to track them on social media and their sentiment analyses, whether they are moving from education phase to workforce and then going into a different life stage, and hence what are the right products to be offered. The data is allowing, and the data and the advanced analytics is allowing us to do that exactly. Risk management again is an area where it is not just focused on what the bank and the financial data and the consumer's demographic is telling us. Adding a layer of mobile telecom data and their social data is helping us make a lot more precise decisions. Loyalty again, millennials are not loyal, they're all deal seekers. But even there, what is the right deal to offer? What kind of products will resonate? What kind of offers will resonate that they actually will stay on with you is again another science and an art which the data is enabling us. Having said that, lastly, all the data that we have, most of the companies traditionally would be using it for descriptive. Everybody has MISs. Every department will have their MIS to understand what happened in the past. And then we use some of it to see what can happen in the future, the predictive part. And that's where artificial intelligence is playing a big role, and we're using it a lot. And there's again, it's an unknown path that we have undertaken. Let's see where we go with that. After that, all those insights help us prescribe what are the right next steps for us, what is the new product we need to develop, which customer segments we should go after, target, what kind of offers we should target, what should be our loyalty program or loyalty platform, how do we improve our margin, which country we should now move on to so that we get the right kind of resources. The moment we come up with the analytics and the decision, it also carries a timestamp. It kind of becomes stale the moment it is produced. As a result, the real-time action is very, very important now because people have no patience. Everybody is looking for, what next? And if we don't act immediately, that's the reason real-time is so, so important, that we come up, and as a result, our infrastructure, the technology needs to be ready so that we can, take a lot of decisions real time. Disruptions are happening. For example, the currency fluctuations, the gas prices, fluctuating, demonetization. Who would have thought about that? It just happened one night. No, we were not prepared. However, we are prepared to see what happened the next day, how consumers are behaving, how many people are going to the ATMs versus which segments are chilled out, saying that doesn't matter. I have my card. My life is not suffering. I will move a little more of my spend onto the card or my mobile wallet. And hence, what is it that I need to offer to them? What is it that I need to offer to those who are panicking? Those kind of differentiated offers, coming up with services and products is what is enabling us to stay differentiated in the market. And with that, I'll end my presentation. Thank you very much.
I think, thank you, Sukanya, for such a wonderful insight, moving from data to insights. I think we all know about multiple things, big data, IoT, et cetera. I think, but it was very good insights. Unfortunately, we couldn't get insight before demonetization. We could have, many of us would have planned life differently.
No, you couldn't have planned.
So moving on, I think I will request the ushers to give the mics. I'll open the floor now for the questions. Can we have that mic working?
It's on?
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
I'm Ashish from Quintas Global, and my question is for Dr. Mishra. The question is, a whole lot of data, it seems, is available. One part of the question is, how much of this data is really private, which means ideally should not be shared, I mean, or should not be used for business purposes. And second question is that how much of data is available for the B2B world, or I would say me too business world, which means how much of business information, just like in the US, the marketing clusters or the information on business is very well published, which means I can know how many people work for a particular company
Correct.
and what are the salaries they draw. Not the individual, I mean, but what is the range of salaries, or exactly what is the labor rate that is being paid to them. But in India, that sort of data for the business isn't available. Is there anything in MasterCard or any public domain information where this business data is available for small and medium businesses or startups to action on these data?
Sure. So there were two questions. One is on data privacy, what can be used. Two, whether there is, publicly available information on businesses. So the first one is, privacy is very, very important, especially in our world. We are highly regulated, especially in our financial sector, technology, telecom providers. So there are ways of using this information very effectively. One is by aggregating and anonymizing and then segmenting it. So you cannot pin down to, say in the credit card world or the credit card technology world, we do not see, that actually Mr. XYZ has gone to barista and bought coffee. What we see is somebody went to barista in this corner location and spent 220 rupees at 1 p.m. on Saturday, right? So this is how the data can be anonymized. Now when we aggregate all that and we can create segments like these are, the males prefer to spend, a lot of money in these kind of coffee joints on weekdays, and the women spend in the evenings, or the women go between 2 and 3 when the children are at school. So those information are very important for our merchants because they want to either manage their inventory, stock up, or they want to target that kind of segments. They can also go down and look at their own data and say this demographic prefers these kind of products. So let me then start offering this product to these kind of segments. So again, you can bring the decision down to a micro segment of even at a zip code level, like 10 households or 20 households. In this zip code, these people generally visit these kind of shopping malls or these kind of entertainments, and hence you can make those kind of offers. So yes, privacy is very important. Again, I'm not saying that the social data we take, it is again at a segment level. Everything is matched up, aggregated, cleaned up, and then all the decisions are done at a segment level. And the segment is characterized by maybe some location or income categories, some kind of demographics, and so on. The second about business, that exactly is not our forte. However, there are public information available. For example, the use case you mentioned about rate cards. How much is a workforce paid in certain industries, certain businesses? So I know there are surveys that are conducted by a lot of HR consulting companies like Hewlett and all. So they publish these informations for India and we use it. So one can participate and share the data and then get an aggregated form back saying, so it differs from country to country. You're right, US is very advanced in terms of understanding the value of data assets, and they use it in a very scientific manner. In India, we have learnt it from them, and there are avenues where these kind of data is available. I think government has amazing data. We just have we don't have access to that data.
Sure. Sorry, good.
Yes.
So,
Rakesh, at the outset, I must compliment you, young presenters, panelists,
Thank you.
for very fine presentations. I look at the theme of today, that is building sustainable differentiators for global India. You have done extremely well in your various verticals and at your company level. Very fine. But if you look at how to make differentiators which are sustainable on the pan-India basis, what is it, our specialities, which set us apart from the world, which are our comparative advantages, on which we can build a differentiator as a nation, and then it sustains for a long time. That is the kind of thing that I think you need to think about. When would it be that India will be known, okay, India does this best, I shall go there. Now today you said technology, this is best, I go there. What is it that India, on its comparative advantages, on its resources, what is it that we can do? That differentiator which nobody else can catch up with. And with that we sustain for a long time and we get known for that. This is, come to India, this is what they will do and they will do it best. So could you please start thinking about it, little beyond your individual verticals or I only hope if there is no immediate answer, I will only ask you to start thinking about it because you are the future leaders and I'm sure you are going to deliver this. Thank you very much.
Maybe I'll try to give a perspective and I'll request Mr. Sukanya and Amit to add to that perspective. I think it's a very, very important point. I think, in fact, today morning also we're talking about how India has to be looked differently to the overall, in the overall global perspective. I think 20 years back or 25 years back, India was looked as a nation with understanding by saying state of snake charmers or land of elephants, etc. I think at least in the last 25 years, some of these organizations, particularly from the perspective of how they have transformed their support functions or enterprise functions like finance and accounting, IT, supply chain, or even analytics, it's a moving of the value chain. And these processes all are performed for globally from India. So today, what Sukanya, for instance, is talking about from analytics is all happening in India for globally. Or Amit is talking about Nokia, for instance, is happening in India for global or other countries. So many of the organizations you will find, they are all having a hub here, which is providing services to global footprint of that company. For instance, today India has become a growing giant where about 10% of the GDP of India comes from this industry, which is IT-enabled services industry. There are about 170 odd thousand people in India who are employed in this industry, and they're about 34% of the employment in this industry is for the women. There are about 70,000 expats who are deployed in this industry. So from the industry perspective, this BPM and shared services or IT-enabled services industry has become a niche and a differentiator globally. The point what you rightly made is, have we crossed that? Still that paradigm. Still that paradigm is there where, recently I was talking to somebody in Australia, not even US, and he still feels, oh, where is Pune? Where is Bangalore? They're still trying to contemplate. BPM means call center. So they're still connecting with India being a land of call center where the call lands, or the Indian people calling back the US people and saying, please buy a telecom card or something. So still the perception or the notion still remains there in the small segment of the leaders across the globe. We have to work towards as an industry to see how we can take away those notions. But I think from the perspective of industry at least acknowledges that BPM and shared services is something which is a differentiator for India, and talent pool exists in terms of either, earlier we were only known for the cost arbitrage, today we are known for the talent arbitrage. If you want to look for a talent, come to India, don't come for the cost. If you want to look for a cutting edge technology, come to India, not for the cost. If you want to look for robotics, come to India, not for the cost. I think 350 robots out of 9,000 people is phenomenal. So I think you are right. I think there's an opportunity for us, all of us, to reflect in terms of saying how we showcase more to the global space and say, this is all we are doing. Maybe we are not able to communicate so far. There's an opportunity for us to further go ahead and communicate. So maybe any quick comments from you, Sukanya, on that?
Sure. I think you touched upon all the points. India, the differentiator what I hear whenever I'm traveling and I meet so many global leaders, the first thing that comes to mind is the population. You know, can be good or bad. But yeah, the population and then the level of education, you know, English speaking, which is probably the most acceptable language in the world, trainable, and you know, we get so many engineers graduating every year, so many people who are you know, working in the IT sector, you know, and then of course analytics, and now consulting also. So I used to work for McKinsey, and now with MasterCard's consulting arm. Although my charter was to build the analytics competency here for our entire global markets, it soon became in US and UK and some other markets is becoming very difficult. Either the numbers are, it's essentially a demand supply gap. The numbers are short and they are extremely expensive. So the business, you know, the business model is wonky. As a result, you know, countries like our country, we are able to bridge that gap. And it is also doing good for us, you know. It's not that we actually, everybody knows the skills. They are getting trained and we are moving up the value chain. So the global giants are slowly understanding or realizing, you know, the value of trained human resource available in India and how, you know, they actually are truly global. Cross-cultural sensitivity, adaptation, all those things are much easier in India. And I think, you know, with the government's call for Make in India, there's going to be a push on manufacturing, so a lot of investments are coming in. So I think those are the differentiators I can think of. But yeah, we cannot just sit idle. World is changing, technology is changing, so we have to continuously reinvent ourselves so that we can move with the new innovations that are coming into the market.
Amit, any perspective?
Actually, I'll just add on to the future part. I think that's what we have, we all know. One of the great strengths today is 220,000 roughly graduate engineers pass every year in India. The problem is if we just believe in that, and going by exactly your statement, Rakesh, which you said is today's excellence is tomorrow's average, and that's exactly the situation. If we don't change our education system, that's where we will be stuck. And in my discussions with Ravi, my point was, what is that as whether NASSCOM, these forums, as a shared delivery forums, what is that we are doing in actually adapting and changing the curriculum of various of these institutes so that it starts to talk about data analytics? Because honestly, if you see, we are all in India, engineering, you have a very structured way, you're very good at maths, but how many data scientists do we have today? Actually, if you go by the word of the data scientists, you would pretty much again go back to US. And I think that's where we need to start adapting and changing very quickly. We have a power of masses, we have a power of our great education system, but we need to harness that to make it as a sustained differentiator. We don't have it, we have it for today. If I compare for tomorrow, I don't think we have it. So yes, we are thinking about it, but I think it's a combined responsibility for all of us to work together and start to also adapt and change our current systems as well, whether it's the education systems, whether it's the skill force, the training, the way we are all actually interacting with the universities and allowing the students actually to come and interact with us. When I look at MITs of the world, you know, we do a lot of work with them, a lot of London School of Economics as well, at LBS. The way of working and thinking is very, very evolved already today. And we are currently not in that ecosystem. So I think there's a lot for us to do to be in that ecosystem and create a sustained differentiator.
Thanks, Amit and Sukanat. One last question. I see a hand there.
Yes.
All right. Okay. This question is to Mr. Dhingra here. So we talked about robotics and the way they're coming up in the system in the future here. So I'm speaking from a business process background. So we did a couple of exercises in my earlier firms here where we said we have a process like this, and you know, some of these sub-processes are effectively nothing but just some rule-based actions that are being taken. So we reconfigured SAP to kind of handle those kind of things out there. So
So when you say use of robotics, is this an example of robotics, or you have something else in mind?
Okay. So
I have
you
a
know-
question after that to Sukanya also here.
Sure, I thought you were finished, sorry. So I'll give you the example of robotics and then you can ask the Sukanya. So on robotics, it's a software robot, right? As we were just talking and the word from Rakesh was, oh, do you have 350 physical robots? No, I don't. Actually, all you have is empty seats, pretty much, and the work is happening on its own. That's what it is. It's software robots. If you go back in history and say 10 years ago we used to do scripting, which is what you are highlighting, for example, in SAP system, is that the first generation of robots? I would say yes, but for me it is more like connected desktop. That was the kind of a way we were doing it. And the problem was every time the SAP database was changing, the SAP version was changing, you had to adapt and change because things were changing, right? The robotic actually is a very different ball game. You have very different companies. There are many, many partners available around the world. And what you do is actually you are doing object-oriented programming, and anything underneath the data layer can change. But if your data, and that's where a lot of topics of Sukanya comes into as well, you need to structure your data mining in a way that you have a large data warehouse which is on the cloud, and anything underneath that you change, it should be immaterial. And that's where the robotics work. Important part is with robotics, because it's object-oriented programming, I can modularize it as well. So I don't have to rewrite the whole robot. I can actually take a part of a robot, and it's like a shareware, you can develop it actually on top. And in global services delivery, that's exactly how we are mushrooming, if I may use that word. But at the same time, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. And that's the best way of not reinventing the wheel. You have a library, you see this is what I want. Immediately you get, there are 5 objects which actually meet your requirement, and you take parts of that or full of that and you evolve that. And that's the power of the robotics.
Do you have a process by which you identify and say, these sub-processes can be roboticized? I mean,
Yeah.
do you have anything like that which you do?
So I'm sure Rakesh is trying to budget.
to keep it, maybe we
Very
can take it as offline, Srini, if you don't mind, in the networking time. So, any other questions? Last question, one more question.
A quick question, Sukanya.
Oh, you still want to ask.
Sukanya,
Okay.
yeah. So, can you give us some nice examples of predictive analysis which you've done from your data mining?
Which, sorry, I
Predictive
didn't.
analysis.
Predictive analysis, some nice examples. Could you kind of give us?
Okay. So, if I take an example from, say, the banking sector, based on, I want to, acquire a lot of customers, and I want to offer them, a loan product. Say, for example, I want to expand my home loan portfolio by bringing in more customers. So, a way I would build my predictive models is I will look at all the customers in my portfolio and how they have been behaving, how much loan they take and what time they return back. There will be defaulters, how much do they default and all. And that kind of helps me build a model which will tell me that if the customer has these kind of features, these 5 parameters, they are safe to give the loan and this amount of loan. If they have some other aberration, these other features, it's risky, don't give the loan. So that is how a lot of banks have been able to increase their business volume tenfold, because it is not a human intervention anymore. The system is telling them, the moment the customer fills out the form, the system is giving them a score, saying that that is called the risk score. Right now in India also we have a CIBIL score. Each bank uses a CIBIL score and also adds their own risk scores on top of it, and it's able to tell the bank that, okay, give the loan. Once the customer takes the loan and starts using the loan, pays back, etc., after some time there are other models who starts telling the bank, these segment of customers start cross-selling an auto loan because they are most likely to pick up that offer, right? Similarly, we have other examples. For example, a merchant, given the kind of customers that come in, the kind of products they are using, either we can help them predict what is the next location they should open their store, or which are the customers they should start attracting, what kind of offers they should give and at what time. I think they're not using my predictive models.
Sure, Shini. So I think right now, I can say that one analysis is very evident now that all of us are hungry and we are standing in between the lunch. So what we'll do is we'll just wrap the session. Thank you, both of you, for valuable insights. It was very wonderful. Thank you.